All right. Hope you all can see my screen. If not, please let us know. Uh, as Dean Bertnazzi said, my name is Dean Bill Koehler. I'm the Dean of the Sloan School of Business and Communication here. We have wide range of business and communication majors, as I'm sure you all know, we can talk about afterwards, but wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the basic principles of marketing. So when you think about marketing, you're probably thinking, maybe something like this.
They say all good things must come to an end. So to my teammates, my family, and my fans, you deserve to hear this from me. Hulu doesn't just have live sports. According to the script they just gave me, Hulu also has your favorite cable channels plus the greatest shows, movies, and originals of all time. So it's time to say goodbye to TV as you know it. But me? I'm not going anywhere.
Well, apparently, folks, he is going somewhere. As you probably all know, Tom Brady is no longer a New England Patriot. That's advertising, right? Huge aspect of marketing. But keep in mind, marketing is a lot more than that. Marketing is really about two essential things. The first is what we call creating customer value. What does that mean? Well, creating customer value really means identifying products that consumers might want, services, and getting it to them. That involves research and development, that involves product testing, that involves distribution. It also involves establishing pricing for various products and services. The second thing that marketing is all about is capturing customer value. Now, you may think of that as making money. We all like money, I guess, yeah? Capturing customer value really comes down to earning a profit on the product or service that you deliver to your customers. And to do so, what do you need to do? You need to first set a price that's fair enough that will attract customers, but that also allows your firm to have a degree of profitability. Second, it means providing them enough value that they want to keep coming back, right? That customer loyalty is so important to what we do as marketers. It's really an essential component. In practice, doing these two things means that you have to identify demand. What is it that consumers really want? What features, what prices, what types of services, what kind of things might customers want that they've never thought of before? And that's where designing new products comes into play, right? New product design really boils down to two different types of products, if you will. The first is what we call an incremental change in a product, right? That's going from an iPhone 10 to an iPhone 11, perhaps, right? New features, new design, new price, same basic idea. Harder is what we think of as the transformational sort of innovation. That's when you introduce an entirely new product category, right? 15 years ago, no such thing as an iPhone, right? Apple and its competitors along the way have created an entire new product category, the smartphone, that completely killed not only non-smartphones, but also landlines along the way. This also means promoting and selling those products, right? And by promoting, we don't just mean advertising like we just saw, though that's one component. We mean establishing relationships with retailers. We mean creating greater awareness about the product through product placement, through celebrity influencers. And by selling, we mean managing a sales staff. We mean managing your whole supply chain to make sure the products get there. And that's where distributing products comes into play. an important part of the marketing function is making sure that you can get your product to your consumer the way they want and in the time they want. And that requires a whole lot of skill, a whole lot of work. All of this is part of building good relationships with your customers, because with no customers, you have no business. And one of the biggest costs that firms often face is what we call customer acquisition. How much it costs to bring a new customer to your firm. So some of the marketing functions that are an essential component of the whole field would be, first and foremost, understanding consumer behavior. Right? What is it that makes you click and buy? Put that in your cart. What is it that makes you go to restaurant A over restaurant B? Not that you're going to any restaurants right now. Okay. Web design. How do you create a visual presence for your company online, for your organization, that makes it easier for your customers to get the information they need and more likely that they're going to stick around and buy something from you? Communication. This refers both to internal and external communication. How do you let your team know what your goals are, what your mission is, what they need to do? How do you let your consumers, your customers, your partners, that could be your suppliers, your retailers, your independent designers, your entire distribution chain. How do you let them know what's happening? Market research. Where's the market going? What's the next thing consumers want to see? What's the next thing they want to buy? Understanding that is the function of market research. Customer relationship management. This is an increasingly important aspect of what marketers do. And it comes down to understanding that every time a customer interacts with your firm, whether that's to buy something or to call for customer service or even to make an inquiry, you need to understand what you can do to make each and one of those interactions positive, what you can do to keep track of that information and learn from it. Very interesting case with regard to customer relationship management. Several years back, Sprint, the phone company, sent a letter to about 40,000 customers saying essentially, "Dear customer, thank you for being a Sprint customer for all these years. However, we no longer want you as a customer. Your contract has been terminated. Thank you." Where did that come from? Well, that came from an analysis of the company that these 40,000 customers, because they spent so much time talking to customer service, so much time complaining, late on their bills, cost the company a lot more money than they were ever making from them. So in effect, Sprint managed its customer relationships to take care of its good ones, but to fire some of its bad ones. As we talked about earlier, new product development is a key aspect of marketing, and that ties in very closely, of course, with market research. Pricing and distribution, all crucial in determining whether your product, your service makes it on the market. And of course, once you have a product, you have to promote it, you have to advertise it so people know why they should want it and where they can get it. Another very important function is, of course, social media. Managing the way companies interact with their customers and potential customers through social media is big business in the marketing field now. And that can mean everything from scheduling Facebook posts to creating new, fresh content for Instagram. Social media is integral to today's marketing climate, as is data analytics, the study of consumer behavior from a very strong statistical standpoint to understand where the trends are and who your customers really are. All of these functions I've talked about roll into the big broad category, what we might think of as business strategy. In other words, what's your business going to do to make money? Now, One of the best tools we use in marketing is what we call the SWOT. Okay? SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The first two, strengths and weaknesses, pretty obvious, right? These are the things that a company is really good at and does better than its competing companies. For example, if you take a company like Apple Computer, one of the strengths of Apple would certainly be product design. Weaknesses, on the other hand, are internal factors to an organization that are not quite as effective or polished as those of their competition. If we're sticking with Apple, a potential weakness for Apple, of course, would be its high price structure, right? Opportunities and threats are the external factors, right? Things outside of the company or the organization. An opportunity might be opening up in a new market or launching a new product, whereas a threat might be a competitor that's going to take away your business or a natural disaster. So if we're using the SWOT to analyze firms or markets, we think first in terms of strengths, right? And this is where we have to emphasize it's a comparative advantage. It's not just about what the company does well, it's about what the company does better than its competitors. It's about what we might think of as competencies too, meaning these are the things that the company has invested in, that it knows it can deliver on a consistent basis. Next, though, we have to look at the other side of the coin. Weaknesses are limitations that face a company right now. What is it that a company could be doing better but doesn't? Or what is it that a company doesn't do well and maybe should outsource to someone else? Again, this is always seen in the competitive landscape. So it's something a company doesn't do as well as its competitors or isn't as good about its products or service or reputation. Now, when we look on the outside, of course, we're looking at first opportunities. Simply put, these are ways to grow. Every firm wants to increase its revenue, wants to increase its profitability. That's why a firm's in business. Even nonprofits want to grow. They want to become more efficient in how they deliver their services. They want to bring in more revenue from grants or from in-kind services. Often, opportunities can be found in new products or services. Right? So when Apple Computer, for instance, launched the iPod back in the day, some of you may be old enough to remember those, brand new market they were tapping into, the mobile music market. Great way for Apple to grow its business share, and that eventually led to the growth of Apple Music. Opportunities can also mean moving into new markets, new geographical areas, or selling to different types of customers. Right? For example, Toyota is one of the best respected car companies in the United States and in the world today. But when Toyota wanted to reach a higher end market, a more luxury market, it knew that the Toyota brand wasn't necessarily the best way to do that. That's when Toyota launched Lexus, which now competes with the likes of Mercedes, BMW, and Audi for high-end automobile buyers. Finally, threats. These are potential events, competitors, etc., that could really disrupt a company's business. Right? It could be something as fundamental as a natural disaster. Right? And I think our current coronavirus situation counts as that. It could be a competitor coming out with a cheaper rival product. It could be key people departing from the firm and the firm no longer being able to show the same leadership. So these all are the four aspects of the SWOT. And we use the SWOT, my friends, to understand where an organization, usually a business, where it is right now and where it needs to be to improve. Now, I'd like you to think about a firm you're probably all familiar with, Dunkin' Donuts. Okay? Um, Little sense of Dunkin', and here's my friend, Mr. Dog, I like to call him, spending some time in his favorite coffee shop. Um, Dunkin' Donuts currently has over 13,000 stores worldwide. Most of those are in the US. And if you're from this area or plan to be in this area, you'll know that they're pretty thickly concentrated in Massachusetts. Over 110,000 employees globally and over $1 billion in revenue last year. This is a big firm. Big firm started locally back in 1950. But it's a time of transition for Dunkin' Donuts. It's really an ever-changing market for what we might think of as fast food and the coffee and beverage business, right? As I'm sure we're all aware, Starbucks nationally is the #1 competitor of Dunkin' Donuts. And so Dunkin' Donuts as a competitor has sought to carve out its own part of the market here. And the first part of that is what we think of as brand identity, right? What does the brand say to a customer, right? What do you expect when you step into a Dunkies, right? Now, I think it's pretty clear at this point that the brand identity of Dunkin' Donuts is centered on its core customer, which would be working class and middle class people of employment age, right? So roughly your 20 to 55 demographic, people who are going to work every day, stopping in Dunkin' Donuts, getting a sandwich, a donut, and of course, coffee, right? This stands in direct contrast to the brand identity of its principal competitor, Starbucks, right? Dunkin' Donuts is the kind of place you come in, come out, right? You get your thing, you go. No one hangs out at Dunkin' Donuts to eat their sandwich. They grab and go. Starbucks encourages its customers to spend time in the stores, to enjoy their coffee, and the prices reflect the environment, right? So when you think in terms of the brand identity in the target market, safe to say that the two principal competitors come at it from different angles, right? Then you introduce other competitors such as McCafe of McDonald's, which of course comes in lower on the price scale, probably a little lower on the brand identity as well, right? But again, aligned with a certain constituency. For McDonald's, McCafe, the customers tend to be a little older on average. So if we're thinking about Dunkin' as a company, right? And we are putting ourselves in the mindset of consultants, right? We were asked by the leadership of Dunkin' Donuts, right? Which now officially goes by Dunkin', just so we're clear for any potential lawsuits. What would we say are the real strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for this firm? So I'd like you to take a minute or two, and then let's talk through some of it together. So folks, wanted you to think for a little bit. Please, and I'll send you a little chat here. Send me what you think are some of the strengths for Dunkin, if you would, by chat. Well, and there are also a few of us that at this point I can probably unmute you all. Okay. Kristen says strong brand name. Love it. Love it. Very important, widely recognized. Excellent. Okay. And I'm hearing service speed from Alicia. Also excellent. Oh, Charlie says return customers. Fantastic. Absolutely true. Most Dunkin' Donuts customers would not go to Starbucks if you paid them. It's good stuff. Good stuff. A couple others I would throw in would be pricing, right? Because certainly Dunkin' Donuts is a little less expensive than Starbucks. And at the same time, I would say, from my customer experience, full service, right? You go to Starbucks, you got to put in your own cream, put in your own sugar. They'll do it for you at Dunkin' Donuts, okay? How about the weaknesses side, folks? Sorry, the board isn't working as nicely. There we go. Okay. How about the weaknesses? What are some of the weaknesses of Dunkin' Donuts in your mind? Lack of variety and atmosphere. Alicia and Charlie, very good, very good. Beautiful. Two very big problems. Dean Bertnazzi is saying no more free coffee after the Pats win.
Listen, that was a big change to my lifestyle when they eliminated that. Yeah, it's true.
Well, the problem is that they just were winning too often, Dean Bertnazzi. Too expensive. Excellent. How about some opportunities for Dunkies, folks? What is a new product they could offer, a new policy the firm could put into place, a new way of marketing itself? I hear fewer coffee-based drinks. Now, okay, rebranding beverages. Now, fewer coffee-based drinks. That could be a very good operational decision because it's expensive for a firm to have to offer a wide range of products. In the business, we call it having too many SKUs, okay, or stock keeping units, too many different varieties, flavors, et cetera, to keep track of. It's a nightmare for businesses. And of course, when your brand has an image that you are not happy with, it's often a good idea to rebrand it. For example, those of you who are around here or even across the nation may know your cable company by the name Comcast, or you may know it by the name Xfinity. Problem is, several years back, Comcast realized that customers just didn't like the company at all. They'd had bad customer service experiences. They always thought they were overcharged. So, in an effort to rebrand itself, Comcast relaunched its cable and internet services under the brand name Xfinity. Same company, maybe a little better customer service, but a different name gives a different opportunity. Okay. Now, how about some threats facing Dunkies, folks? You folks have been doing really well thus far. If you were in my class, you might just pass. Okay. Healthier options, I hear from Kristen. Absolutely. This has been a big threat for Dunkies for quite some time. As a matter of fact, donuts now only represent about 7% of Dunkies' total revenue. About 70% is coffee and other beverages, and it's high volume. I hear COVID-19. Oh my goodness, yes. Dunkin' Donuts is, of course, experiencing the same thing most other eateries are, right? Starbucks more popular with younger customers. Very nice, Charlie, very nice. Absolutely true. Dunkies customers are getting older on average. Its demographic keeps shifting, and those customers aren't going to be around forever, and they're not going to be drinking coffee forever. Fantastic. Hey, good exercise, folks. You gave me a pretty good feel here for your thinking on this, and you're all starting to think like marketers. I love it. I love it. So let me go back to the presentation for a second here. All right, excellent. So we answered really 4 questions here, I think, right? What does Dunkies do better than its competitors, right? Offers quick service, offers lower prices, right? What could Dunkies improve? Well, more variety perhaps in its offerings, certainly a more upscale atmosphere. How can it expand? Well, we talked about different types of business, different types of products perhaps, right? Reducing coffee options, moving into other areas, and perhaps healthier options. And what might hurt the business? Well, certainly competition, certainly a pandemic. All of these are definitely things that could put the company out of business, put any company out of business. So a few takeaways, if you would, just to keep the football and Brady theme going. Marketing is ultimately about the customers, right? Marketing is about building relationships with them, finding out what they want, more important, what they demand, right? What they ask for and can pay for, and providing it to them and making them happy through the whole process. But marketing is about value too, making sure that in what we call in marketing the value proposition, what you're giving a customer in exchange for their money, that's a worthwhile transaction for the customer that makes them want to come back. Marketing is also central not just to every business, but to every nonprofit. Every hospital needs to market itself, every college or university, of course, right? And of course, donuts are our friends. Were you all here live as a part of doing this, we would have had donuts for you, and I would have kept a few back for myself. So, questions on your mind, folks, about the field of marketing, about Regis, about the Sloan School of Business and Communication, about this crazy looking guy on my screen?
Thank you, Dean Koehler, very much. At this point, would love to open up any questions that you have. And again, feel free to ask questions about the programs, about the course content itself, about the Sloan School, about Regis. That is what we are here to do for you today. I do have a question, Dean Koehler, and it is, can you talk about, oh, okay, cool. And we'll get to that question as well. But my first question that I have is, can you speak to a little bit some of the internships that our students are doing through the Sloan School?
Absolutely. Internships are an incredibly important aspect of what we do, and more important, an important aspect of the way we look at education. Hey, business is a practical field, and so our students are going to do best when they get a lot of hands-on experience. So over the past few years, we've had students working everywhere from Fidelity Investments to Liberty Mutual Insurance on the financial end, Bank of America, but also places like Mass General Hospital, places like Biogen Pharmaceuticals. So a big variety of employers. We also like to work with an increasing number of nonprofit and startup opportunities to give our students sort of a feel of a different environment. So internships are crucially important, and a pretty wide variety of employers, big and small, where our students are doing a lot of work related to marketing.
Great, thank you. I have two more questions. Is sales a part of marketing, or is marketing a part of sales?
Oh, excellent question. Excellent question. Sales is actually part of marketing, right? One aspect of marketing, and it's something we often associate with marketing. It's very visible. It's very important from that standpoint, of course. But marketing is more about the strategy, the big picture overall, right? Not just about selling to the consumer, but in the first place about figuring out what it is you want to sell to the consumer, and then going about designing it and making it. But excellent question then.
Great. Another question, if a student has IB business courses, or has done the IB business course and has taken the IB business exam, could that potentially vacate some of the coursework in the program? Certainly we would look at it to see if it could count as an elective, but is it possible that that could cover a class in the business curriculum?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we'd take a very close look at where it matched up best.
Right.
But our goal is always to give you maximum credit for anything you have coming in the gate, as it were.
Great, thank you. Oh, got a great question about the SWOT, which is actually a personal favorite of mine from a business world. Looking at the SWOT, is outsourcing considered a strength or a weakness?
Oh, now that's an excellent question. Excellent
Great question, Charlie.
The short and easy answer, Charlie, is it depends. Here's the way I would see it. If the outsourcing that a company does allows it to focus on the things it really does well, its core competencies, right, and let other companies take care of the other parts, then it's a strength. For example, Apple doesn't do the manufacturing for most of its iPhones, right? It outsources it to other companies because those other companies can do it better and cheaper. Apple, on the other hand, keeps all the design work in-house and maintains its direct customer relationship. So by outsourcing the manufacturing piece, it's a strength for Apple. For a lot of companies, though, that do it poorly, right, especially when they outsource, for example, their customer service functions, it can turn out to be a weakness because you have dissatisfied customers who aren't getting the help they need.
Great question. Any other questions from the audience? Oh, good question. Okay. If a student is interested in studying abroad, are there any limitations for the student who's in the Sloan School?
Absolutely none whatsoever. We are big fans of study abroad. And we'll work with you to make sure that wherever you want to go, you can have a curriculum that's going to give you full credit toward your degree. So
Great.
never worry about that. We've got standing programs in places like Italy and Cyprus, but also new ones coming up in Dubai, in India, and in London. So keep tuned.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions? Going back to the vote, have there been opportunity? Oh, great question. And this is also a good time to ask is, have there been opportunities for internships in government work?
Absolutely, absolutely. We currently have an intern working for the city of Boston in the public health office.
Oh.
Through, that's actually a connection through one of our part-time faculty members.
Mhm. Great.
So, but I know in our criminal justice program, we have a couple of people interning with the state of Massachusetts and one with the federal government. So there are lots of government opportunities. Depends on what you're interested in. Government is wide open these days on the business end of government. So might be a good fit for you, Charlie.
Great. Yeah, we see a lot of students, and actually all of our schools in some way interface with a public entity, whether those are our health sciences nursing students doing work through our affiliates with the VA, our students doing NIH grant research funding, a lot of students doing work with municipal and state police forces, and then certainly on Beacon Hill and government work as well. So we see those. And what would happen is when you begin your journey at Regis, you work with our director for the Center of Career and Internship Planning to help identify those places of interest and walk you through, that process and how to be the best candidate for consideration. Do you know the author Philip Koehler?
Oh, I certainly do. Yes. Among other things in a very long career, Philip Koehler was the author of probably the most, I think it is the #1 selling marketing textbook of the past 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing and Introduction.
Yep.
With Armstrong and Cutler. So yes, I do not know him personally, I must say. But I've studied his work all through school, and for many years when I taught principles of marketing, that's his textbook I used.
Great question.
Yeah. Extra points on your application, Alicia.
Yeah. Are there any other questions this evening? Great. Well, as there are no further questions, just a couple of other opportunities to go over. If after tonight's session, if you do have questions, whether those are specific for Dean Koehler or about enrollment, admission, financial aid, please feel free to reach out to us. We encourage everybody to use the admission@regiscollege.edu email. That is our central clearinghouse, and it can help ensure that your question is directed to the appropriate office. And of course, you can always reach out to myself or Dean Koehler directly. We love working with students and answering any questions that you have. Throughout the week, we continue to have programming, so certainly encourage you to join in and check out these events as you learn more about Regis and learn about next steps. And continue, if you're not already, to join that Accepted Student 2024 Facebook group. We'll continue to post updates and information there as well to make sure you have everything you need as you begin this part of your collegiate journey. Dean Koehler, I want to thank you again for your time tonight and for teaching a really exciting class. I won't hold it against you that you opened with Tom Brady making us think he was staying with us. We'll let that one go. But otherwise, it was fabulous. And thank you to our guests this evening for joining us, for your amazing questions. We continue to wish everybody well and good health, and we look forward to seeing you all again soon. Have a great night, everybody, and thank you.
Hey, thank you all for coming. You all get an A for participation.
Awesome. Good night.
Good night.